If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
So in yesterday's session, we completed any questions, or we can start with the today's agenda. Okay, we'll go ahead with the user administration. And as we discussed yesterday, most of the participants are having already hands-on experience on SAP. So we'll try to wrap up the user administration, role administration a little bit faster. And as requested by participants, we'll discuss on SU25 upgrade steps. So how we can move from the ECC system to S4 system. On a high level, what will be the security activities that we need to discuss. So we'll try to wrap up the user administration, which is 1, 2, 3 hours here. So we'll try to finish it early, and we will, if possible, we'll take the role administration. Otherwise, we'll discuss on the SU25 part based on the time that is available. Okay.
Hello, Jay. I am Aman Aswani. I'm in.
Okay. So Aman, you already have the SAP security hands-on experience?
Yes, somewhat.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you can go through yesterday's recording, introduction to SAP landscape and all, and it was a theoretical session. So from today, basically, we are starting with the hands-on onto SAP side. Okay. So,
Okay, sir.
And did everyone able to connect with RDP? So I think yesterday the RDP details are shared, right? So everyone should have a user ID to connect to RDP, and the same user ID can be used to connect to GRC and S4 system that is already available into the RDP. So we are starting with user management session A. You can part B as well. So we will discuss on user management. So, okay, good morning, everybody. We are starting with the topic user administration. Please go through this disclaimer. This presentation, do not share this with anyone. This is purely for training purpose, and do not reproduce or take screenshots out of this presentation. And stick to the disclaimer that is provided over here. Okay, in the agenda side, we will see how to create a new user, how to lock, unlock user, how to rename, deactivate the user password, and activities that you basically perform on a user master. Okay. So what we'll try to do is set up some users for ourselves in GRC that we will use in future. So that way we have doing hands-on as well as creating some data that is useful for us. Okay. So I will just quickly run through the PPT and then we'll do it in system. So SU10 is the transaction. As we all know, we go here and we put the transaction and hit enter, and that way the transaction start. Or if you have the transaction in your user menu, you can double click on that and that will start. Okay, so you put the username. There is a create, edit, display, delete, copy, lock, lock, unlock, and password reset. These are the options available in SU01. The address data related to user last name is mandatory. The remaining fields are option. You can put whatever information is relevant, and there should be a default company in the project. So this whatever user master is created, that is allocated to a company code. Okay. So create a new user account. So user types, yeah, this is important. So whatever users we create in real world, a named user who is a actual human, they will be dialogue users. So basically these are the people who actually do a dialogue login into the system and they are performing some task. Okay. In rare scenarios, you might create them as a service user for test system if the user ID is shared between larger group. The only benefit is, yeah, you can use the dialog steps with service user, but you don't need to change the password in first time login. And with service user, you can do multiple sessions. So let's say if we are sharing, let's say a GRC user, and then we want all of us or multiple people to be logged in at the same time, that user should be a service user. If it is a dialog user, and if the system is configured not to allow multiple logon, so like the production system, you might see if you are logged in into another, into the same system with same user ID somewhere, and you are trying to re-log in, it will ask you to terminate one of the session. Either you continue with the login session and the other session is terminated, or you cannot log in. So that is the difference between service and dialog user. System users are basically used to connect within multiple systems using RFCs. So this user cannot do a dialog login. You cannot log in with the system user password and perform any transaction. That is strictly for background processing and communication within the system. So communication user is used for the external RFC calls. Like system user, you cannot log in with the communication user. And the reference user is basically a user which is created to take reference from. So one use case is like, let's say you want some basic authorizations to be there with everyone, and you don't want that roles to be assigned again and again to all the people. So you can create a reference user and assign the access to reference user, and you can just when you're creating a new user, you can put that reference user into the SU01. I'll show you where to put. By doing so, whatever authorizations are assigned to that reference user, that is already incorporated in the new users. So you don't need to reassign those roles again and again. Another benefit of this case will be if you have too many authorizations to assign. So from SAP side, there is a technical limit on how many profiles you can assign. There is no limit on roles, but one role is equivalent to one profile at least. And then if you have more authorizations into the role, it may be 2 or 3 profiles. The system will automatically generate. And then if you are assigning too many roles to a user, then it might maxed out. System will throw an error that you cannot assign more and more roles. So that time you can create a reference user, move your authorizations to reference user, put that reference user into SU01, and then whatever roles reference user has, on top of that, you can assign extra roles into the actual SU01 of user. Okay, I'll show you where to put the reference. So these are the basically drop down where you can select what type of user is into the logon data. Password, you can either deactivate or generate a password, or you can type a password here, and that password will be initial password for the user. In the roles tab, we basically where we put the roles. Okay, and then with the role assignment, automatically the profile assignment will be done by SAP. Yeah, so you can see these roles generated profiles are basically profile for the roles that are assigned here in roles tab. Okay, we'll see these all the options in the system. So locking and unlocking of users. So based on the system parameters, how many time password login, failed password login is allowed and user is locked, it can be configured. And based on that, either 5, 3, whatever is the company policy, the user gets locked. And then you can see when you go to the SU01, you can see what is the reason user is locked. So we'll see that in the system, and then you have the option to unlock, and then it will basically give you all the information. Okay, why it was locked, and you can refer the change logs as well. So it will tell you the exact reason, who locked, who unlocked this user, and all. Yeah. So administrator and a security team can basically lock, unlock, and this activity can you can also define the roles. Let's say this lock and unlock is handed over to service desk. So basically they don't need to log a ticket every time and send it to security. So if you delegate this task, then you can create a specific role for user locking and unlocking with the authorization objects. So and control it with the user groups. So service desk or level 1 can basically do the user unlocking activity for a specific set of users, not touching any super users or system users. You can do that as well as a use case. Okay, so we'll see all these things into the system. Lock, unlock, what is the procedure? Deactivating an ERP password, we'll see where to deactivate. Okay, so let us go into the system and try to create. Sorry. Okay, you can see the RDP. This is visible, right? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, yes, Jay.
Yes, Jay.
All right, so I hope everyone has received the RFC, the RDP credentials and SAP systems. Yesterday we shared the details over the chat. So the new participants can today try to connect and try to log in. All right, so I am logged in with GRC user 1. Okay, and I think from ZGRC2 onwards, it is shared with the participants. Okay, so let me create some users. Okay, we go to SU01 and let's create core manager, core role owner. Okay, these users we can use in future. Z underscore will create these 3 users. Okay, so with SU01 one user. Okay, so put the user and hit create button. Last name is mandatory, so you can put the last name, and remaining fields are optional, email ID and all. And if you see here, the company code is assigned for default company. So if you want to see, you can see the company details. Okay, so this is done in SUcom. So there will be a company created over there, and then your employees are assigned to that company. Okay, and log on. Let's make here you can choose what type of user is. So let us make it service, so I don't have to change the password. User group, here you can select the user group. So now this is a manager I'm creating, so I'm not putting any group here as such. This is optional, and if you want to create more groups, you can go to SUGR, and this is where you will see the groups that are available. So if we have to create a new group, let's say manage, let's say end user. Let's create the end user group. Save it here. Close this, and let's see if that is available here. Yeah, so I'm calling this person as end user. SNC, if SNC is configured, so this is for single sign-on or passwordless login. So if this is activated, you can put the SNC string, and based on the Active Directory logon that is done on the system, user can log in without password. User defaults, what date time, what time format, what decimal notation, what output device, all these things you can configure. Okay, this is specifically to this particular user. If you don't provide the values, it will be what system default values are. And if you want to change, you can change it here. Parameters, you can pass on some default values over here. How particular transaction will work, or what are the user preferences that he has saved. They will go here as parameters, and then some T codes have parameters assigned to them, so you can assign the parameter values here, and then based on that particular that T code will behave that way for that user. So if he saves some preferences, it will go here as a parameter. Okay. Now in roles, we actually need to assign the roles. So okay, let us open the display tree code. So SU01D is basically for display. Okay, so ideally, if you have everything automated, all the provisioning activities, and you don't want your system to be open for even security team to make any manual assignment, so SU01D can be part of their day-to-day access, and SU01 can be part of the firefighting activity. Okay, elevated access. So if because of some genuine reason or some business emergency or any technical challenges, if a user change is required, a firefighting activity can be done, and all the ticket information, approvals, everything can be attached to that particular firefighting session. And then, as we discussed in the overview section, EAM, all the logs and everything will be generated, will be sent to the approver, and they can review, yeah, this activity was correctly performed for that particular requirement. So set GRC, whatever roles we have on our user ID, let's just put it to this person. Okay. Okay. So there are duplicates that will be removed. So you cannot assign the same role with same start date and end date again. So if I have to assign this role, I mean it's not needed, but in case of business roles, it happens basically. So we'll come to that section. I will again touch base. So let's say this role is part of multiple composite roles or multiple business roles. Then in that case, same role will be assigned to user with multiple start date and end date. So if I have assigned one composite role which has this role effective today, and then after 2 days I assign another composite role which again has this business role, so you will see multiple occurrences. And here another important thing is, if you go here and see, is it a direct assignment or indirect assignment? Is this equal to, means it is directly assigned. And if this is assigned as part of any composite role, so you will see indirect assignment here. Okay, so you will see a profile kind of picture here, and if it is equal to, that is direct assignment. Okay, so this is important. You can remove the directly assigned roles, but if it is part of composite role or something, you cannot remove it manually. You have to remove the composite role. Okay, let's go to the profiles. See here, whatever is this kind of logo, if you see in roles, that means that is generated profile. And if I assign something directly, so you will see this is I mean this is a composite profile, but this is directly assigned to user. So let me remove. Right now I'm not assigning. I think all of our users have SAP all. So just not to face any challenges later, I will assign it here. Okay. And another user group, you can assign the extra user groups over here to categorize this user. So this user group is basically for the SU01 master data, like where this user falls in, where to count this user. But this user groups, you can assign additional multiple user groups, like let's say this person is a manager and I want to assign a separate manager group to this person, and later I'm trying to do some reporting or use this user groups to perform more activities. We can do the more groups assignment over here. Okay, this some personalization for user. Okay, we don't touch this more. And license data is important. So how this user is licensed? Okay, so these are all SAP delivered licenses, and then based on what kind of authorizations user has and how the organization has purchased the licenses, the license assignment can happen. And this is useful when SAP will do the consolidation and bill the customer based on how many active users or whatever way they have defined the contract. If it is user based, if it is small organization, it can be based on the revenue generated or the purchase order or the sales order based on that, so, or the functionality activated. So likewise. Okay, so I'm saving this user. Okay, so we successfully created a user. Okay, now let's see edit option. Okay, edit also you can go and do the same things that we just did, everything that you can do. Okay, delete a user, display a user, copy a user. If you want to copy this user as it is, like I did a fresh creation for this user. Now let's do a copy. Okay. Now I want to do a role owner copy of this user. I'm creating a new user, copying from here. Okay. So here we can choose what we want to copy. Let's say I copy everything. So now I don't have to go and fill this data again. All I need to do is worry about the password. And you will see here deactivate the password and generate the password. If you want to get a complex password, SAP generated. Let me save. Okay, this is another user. Let me create the security team as well. Another doing the copy. Okay, but here I want to assign a user group security, Z security. So we will make use of this user group to identify which person is a security team. Okay, so we have the option to use user group, or we have the option to specifically use this particular role. And in GRC, we can configure which all people are actually security team. Okay, when we do the agent configuration. So for now I'm using this user group Z security to figure out who all are the security person. Okay, so this will be my user group here. And then these users are basically the end users we created. Okay, so what else? I can quickly show the change document as well. So you can go to information and change document, or you can go to SUIM transaction. And by default, this user is put here. But if you don't know the details, you can remove the user as well and try to search. Let us see this user. And today, let us see what all activities user perform. Okay. So this is how you will get the change document. So these three users, user created, and all the things that we performed. Okay. You will see here, and transaction code that was used. And if I choose the roles as well, so let's choose the roles. You will see what all roles are assigned. If I remove anything, it will be here. So this T code will be useful to see the logs and why a particular user access is removed, or if user started facing any issues and he said I had the access, you can go and check is any role removed from user, or who removed that, and see the timestamp and then try to relate what was the reason to take out the access. Okay. So let's sit on user side. Go back. Any questions here?
Yeah, like we are adding the reference users in the system, right? So is there any limit like to that reference user? We can use that reference user to the particular users like 250, 113 like that.
You mean to say a reference user, how many more users can refer
Yes.
that user? I don't think so.
Yes.
I don't think so. Actually, it is a limited use. Nobody uses it widely, but yeah, we have seen that use case with the maximum profile. So also that will happen when you have too many company codes in your system. So if you let's take an example of many people are from DuPont. So if DuPont has, let's say, 100 company codes in one system, and then like we talked yesterday, one person belongs to one plant, and then if that person is again performing duties in, let's say, 5 more plants. Okay, he is responsible for 5 plants, and you have plant level roles or company code level roles, and then that person has to get let's say 4 or 5 composite roles per company code. then you end up assigning him 25 to 30 composite role, and each composite role, let's say, have 10, 15 or 5 to 10 single roles. Then this becomes way tedious. He might have limited set of T codes because each and every role is assigning the limited T codes and limited same set of authorizations, but only the organizer structure values are different. So in that case, what happens, that user profile gets maxed out. Okay, and then either GRC is doing the provisioning, then also it will fail. And if you are doing manually, that time also it will fail. So let me show you where to put that. Okay, so let's say if you go here and in roles, yeah, here you can put that reference user.
So means there is no limit. We can use.
Yeah, you can create a
Right.
reference user. Yeah, you can create a reference user. Let's say reference user end user, and then whatever bare minimum authorizations you want to assign, you assign it to that user and put it here. So that authorizations plus this authorizations, this is what this user get.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so
And
you can
also,
go ahead.
and also, like, can we define the set of the roles based on the user group? Like suppose we have a user group security. So can we define the set of roles? And once we added the user group security, then that user will get the roles, all those roles to him. Is it possible?
Automatically, I mean, as a standard functionality, you cannot, because if you go to the SU01 and you as a security team, you have all the authorizations. But if you're trying to delegate these things, like I said, if you want to pass on this functionality to level 1, let's say, and then like we discussed the password reset, you can control the authorizations. You can create a role, okay, with limited authorizations, where let's say you put the role naming in such a way, and you put the particular order all our authorization objects underlying SU01, like which user group you can edit the user to. So you can create a sub role with SU01 access where it is limited to, let's say, like end user here, and then what roles that person is allowed to assign. So automatically system is not going to pick like I assign ZSEC as a user group and assign all these roles, but you can create a limited version of role. And let's say you want to delegate this functionality to a particular person in, let's say, a department or a site. Okay, you can do the maintenance for your user group, your user group users. So if somebody needs a password at particular site, that person will come to you first before they submit a ticket for security, and then that person checks, okay, what is wrong with this user, and he can do a limited user maintenance. So that is possible, but as a standard functionality, you cannot do. You can do some customization, or you can use GRC to do some of this part as a automation.
Premise as a standard functionality, that is not possible. But if you want to do any configuration from our side, then there might be a chance, right?
Yeah, some configuration, not exactly like you just select the user group, and because that is not possible. The purpose of user group is to figure out where this user belongs to. Okay, so you will not basically create 500 user groups and say user group like supply chain coordinator and particular company code, and then that is not how it is. Basically you will do let's say user group based on functions, for example. So like we created security, you will have basis, you will have development or project team, you will have support team, IT department, you will have then HR department, supply chain department, and you will have maybe 10-20 user groups to categorize where this user belongs to. And another benefit is like, let's say there is a IT risk in the end user. Okay, how this is useful. So I have this person called out as an end user, and then when we are running the report or when we see the dashboard, okay, this person from end user group has a HR risk. That is not normal, and then that is easily catching the eyes. No, something wrong with this user. Either it has wrong roles assigned, or this user is categorized as a wrong user. It is part of HR department, or it is part of IT department. So that is use of this user group to do some maintenance, to do reporting based on where user falls. Okay.
So why authorization matrix? It is also not possible.
No, authorization matrix is how you design the security. So roles is a different part. This is basically how you design your security. So when you are in a project or that time you will have the discussion with the functional team POCs who are basically nominated from respective function. So we as a security team, we don't take the call. Like for an example, let's say there is a supply chain coordinator. Okay, so Z underscore supply underscore code. Let's say this is our naming and this is for 1000 company code. Okay, so what we will decide is what all values are tagged to 1000 company code. This will be provided from respective functions. So let's say the plant manager, plant maintenance team will give us, okay, 1000 company code has these 3 plants. Okay, so when we are creating role, we will know, yeah, these 3 plants we need to maintain. Then respective sales team will give the sales organization, and there will be a set of organizational structure that will be finalized. So any new role we'll create for 1000 company code, it will have the same values. We don't need to go and ask again what company code, what plant we need to maintain. But T code side, what transactions this role will have, so that will be provided by supply chain department. Okay, so they will look into the what authorizations they want to assign to this person who is a supply chain coordinator. So there are too many T codes. They will decide, yeah, this functionality this person can do. This is his scope. This is outside of his scope. And like one functionality, as you know, in SAP there are many ways to do the same functionality. Okay, you have the direct T codes, or you decide a route, approval path, or some functional, some business process is defined in a project where they will decide, yeah, this T codes or this path we will take for this do this activity. And based on that business process document, they will create or they will map the T codes, and then we will basically create this role. And whoever is supply chain coordinator, we have to assign this role to that person. And where which company code, like we have two company code, 1000 and let's say 2000. So if somebody belongs to 1000 company code, we will assign the respective role. If somebody is 2000 company code supply chain, we will assign. If it is both, we will have to assign both. Or alternative, we can create a all role as well, supply chain code underscore all. So if somebody is catering all the company codes, you can assign that role. With that, you limit the that role assignment part, how many roles you have to assign. Okay, but not as automation. Like this is not the purpose that you just select a particular user group and automatically everything happens. The security is not that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so any more questions?
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I have one question here. Like we have two set of users with the same list of roles, but one user should have display access and one should get edit access. What are the possibilities of that?
So basically you will have to define your roles like that.
Yeah, see, user one is having 1, 2, 3 roles, and user two is also having the same set of roles, 1, 2, 3. But can we differentiate using the user group and profiles, or else like that? Like one user should have display, and one user should get the edit access.
Okay, I will tell you here if it
Yeah.
is configured in the T code. Okay, so the development team or ABAP team, they don't touch the SAP code, and that is never recommended. So, for example, if SU01 is our T code, okay, SU01 is our T code, okay. So never ever any ABAP team, unless and until absolute necessary, to touch this T code standard code, because when you upgrade, it is a headache for you if you touch the functionality, and that is not recommended. So how SU01 behave, there are 5 authorization object. It is not role based. This is standard security. So let's say S underscore user underscore GRP. Okay, so when you say you have the same set of roles, that means you have same set of authorizations. If you have same set of authorizations, the standard security is behaving same for two user. But if you want to do a ZSU01, create like copy the code that is SAP delivered, exact copy. Okay. Create a ZT code, and in this ZT code, in the beginning or end, somewhere they put a logic based on the user group. Okay, now you are saying user group. Then this particular T code is doing exact same functionality of SU01, but okay, plus extra check on user group. So what he's doing, when you open the ZSU01, it goes and check you have a display user group. It won't show you all this button. It will basically stop you. Or if you try to do something, it will tell, no, you don't have the access. It will look like this, SU01D. Okay, so this is what can be done, but at T code level, because the authorizations is standard. You assign the authorizations, you assign the same roles. That means the two user has same access. But when T code starts, how T code decide, that is up to the T code. Like there are some standard T codes. Let me show you. SQ01, for example. Yeah. So if somebody has SQ01 access, like you and me, we both have SQ01. But you see here, there is option to assign user groups. Okay, these are queries from my user group. What user group I have? Okay. So this is a standard functionality. So this T code will behave. If you go to SQ03, you will see. Let me see ZGRC1. Okay, here you can see this is the standard T code. This is the standard functionality. It is allowing me to select the user groups. So for this user, when he goes in, he will see something else, even if he has the same authorizations as another user, because he has different user groups, and second user has a different user group. But SAP and nobody will recommend you doing the customization like have the same roles. That is not at all recommended. So what you can do is like this is the real-time scenario as well. Z underscore SAP underscore security underscore maintain, for example, or change. So you created a role. Okay. You created a role. This is your maintenance role. You create another role. Okay. Z underscore sec underscore display. And then also assign the display T codes over here. You assign this role to a person who needs to do a display activities. You assign this role to a person who needs to do maintenance activities. And only customization comes into picture for absolute necessary. So SAP will not recommend. You have the standard functionalities available, and that is what the security is based on. You have the authorization objects tagged to your transactions. Yeah, if required, if you have some additional requirement, and if it is not fulfilled by standard authorization objects, then only you go and create extra authorization objects. So like we discussed, if for user group restriction, this object is already there, SAP will not recommend you because it is already there, and you are assigning star over here, all the user group authorizations, and then unnecessarily we are creating a Z authorization object here. Okay, it is Z underscore GRP. Yeah, and then restricting, like putting extra code into SU01 to restrict how it will behave. That is not recommended. You already have a standard authorization object. Why not use this? Okay.
Yeah, Jake.
So any more questions, or we can move to the next topic? See what else we can discuss here. Okay, lock we can discuss. The lock, you can see this user is not locked when you click this lock. So if you want to lock, basically, so if you go to lock and lock this user and check, it will tell it is locked by system manager. So by this you understand it is locked by administrator. Okay, so it can be any reason. This person is terminated, or this person is moved to another department, and security team says you raise a new request and then only will unlock. Okay, so you can understand from here it is locked, and if it is password lock, it will tell you locked due to incorrect login. So if I put 5-6 attempts of wrong passwords, then also it will get locked, and then it will tell incorrect logon. Okay. Okay. So this is the part B. We'll go to part B. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, we'll move to the part B, user administration. Please read to the disclaimer once again. Okay, so here we are going to see mass user creation, user group we already discussed, and type of user in the SAP system. Okay, so you might be already using this functionality SU10, but this is a critical T code because it will impact a lot of users. Okay, so we need to be very careful, and especially in the production system, because once you do something, the logs are captured, and then you are basically answerable to the activities that are performed. So that is why SU10 is very critical, and we need to be very careful with the T code. Okay, so we'll see all these things in the system, create button, then the profiles, then the logs it will show you for mass creation. Okay, user group. Okay, we'll see this all in live in system. Okay, let's finish with the PPT first, and then we'll go to system. So type of user A is basically dialog user. So regular dialog user where login is possible. And system will check for your initial password or expired password for dialog users. A user can change multiple logons, as we discussed, will be checked if they are allowed or not. System user, non-interactive, so you cannot log in and do a dialog steps over here. So system user, like, they cannot change end users, or basically this maintenance of system user is done by administrator only. And it is like, we also caution, we need to be very careful when you are touching any system user passwords, because these users are basically used in RFC communication. So by any chance, if the password is lost, I mean, you reset the password and we don't know what was the last password, or anywhere around, if password is changed, and like system will have some policy that you cannot use last 5 passwords or last 20 passwords. So even if you know the password, it is difficult for you to set it back, right? And as soon as you change the password, RFCs are going to fail, and it will either start creating dumps into the system, or the other system connections might fail, and it has wider impact. So any system user is basically owned by basis team or the functional team. If somebody is requesting any specific functionalities, like I'll give you an example. Let's say the SAP database is connected, and then there is a third party Oracle team who need to do some querying, and for that they ask us the system user to connect to their platform. If this user is locked, or password is changed, which is not maintained, their password and this password is now not in sync, then their functionality will be impacted. It will stop working. Okay, so we need to be very careful with the system user. Any password activities, locking, unlocking, this has to be like carefully discussed and coordinated well, and have proper approvals. So it doesn't fall onto the security team's plate that why it was changed. So communication user also same. but only difference is, as you see, the communication user password will expire. For system user, it is not expiring. For password communication user, it will expire and it has to be changed, and it will expire based on the system policy, what parameters are configured. Service user, as we discussed, dialog steps are available, and it is shared user between an anonymous group of users like test users or something. And system will not check for expired or initial password during login. So you don't need to, like, if you create a dialog user and we set up a password, when somebody logs in first time, since it is the initial password, it has to be changed to a productive password. But in case of service user, it will not populate. So once you create the password, share it to the larger groups, it will stay as it is. Reference user is to additional authorizations. A quick summary, basically log on possible, not possible, multiple logons are permitted or not, password expires or not expired, and who can change the password. Okay. So the multiple users types we discuss. A quick summary. Okay, now any questions here? We can go to the system then.
Can you give more details regarding the communication users, like how we are using like that?
So let me open one RFC and let's see what we have done now. So this is SM59. Okay, this will be important T code for us to start the GRC configuration. Okay, very first step is to create the connection. Now, even if this GRC system is the same GRC system and we have to do the assignment or do the firefighting here, we still need to point this GRC to itself. Okay, so see this GRC to GRCC client 100, this is my RFC to the same system. Okay, this RFC. And you can see log on and security, the RFC user is maintained. Okay, now let's go to SU01 and see RFC user. Okay, they have created a service user, but this should not be a service user. So this can be system or communication. So because this user, okay, what this user is going to do, any activities like okay, we are talking in terms of GRC because this is our use case. So this is the GRC system itself. Okay, this is my GRC. Okay, and I have the S4 system here. Okay, this is our S4 system. Okay, so when we do a access request, okay, we want to create a user, we want to lock a user, we want to unlock a user, we want to do a deprovisioning, remove the roles, top up the roles, anything, everything we are going to do here. Okay, we are going to one way is to go in SU01 or SU10 like we did now, created the user. You can go and do in S4, but that doesn't have the control. Like in audit, somebody will have to go to change log, then ask you, show me the approval based on what ticket or what approval you did this activity. So the whole use of GRC is to automate the same functionality, have the workflow approval everywhere at one place, and the system will do the assignment. Now, how it will do, if a user is created in S4, okay, so it will not be created by because I raise the GRC or I do some functionality. What it will do, it will go to that connector. So our connector in this case is this one MD1 client 901. Okay, what it will do, it will go here and it will use this user to connect to system. Now when we are pulling some data, let's say we are syncing the data, how many users are there, what roles are there in the system. So this user will be used to communicate to the system. It won't be my user because I am doing this activity. Okay, so this user needs to have the access what activity we are performing. So since this user is used, definitely he's going to have wider access. And if we leave this user as a dialog user, or if we leave this user as a service user, and basis team knows the password, so there is a risk that we go log in with this user and perform some activities, and that is a audit gap. So this user will be used as communication or system. Okay, so this user will be used as a system user. So what happens, even if I know the password, I cannot log in. So this is purely to connect between the systems, and communication is the same purpose, only minor difference. So the password policies apply here. So this user should be system user. So we do not disturb any functionality. Like after 30 days, let's say password will expire. We have a policy every 30 days, you must change your password. So same policy will apply to communication data user. It will not apply to system user. So this user should be a system user actually. Let me change, make it a system user.
And for the communication users, password policies are set by any third-party application, or like as per the organization we can set it.
Yeah, it will be based on the your system policies. So the the profile parameters that are there are set 10. So you know RZ11. The base system will set here the policies, and that particular policy will apply. So see, all these parameters are related to security. So although they are maintained by basis, like multiple GUI logon is enable or not, disable password logon, yes or no. Then multi-logon password expiration time, see this for example. So you can little bit Google around this more. And since this is not, this is just fresh deployed system, it has all default values. But then in real case, okay, based on the organization policies, these values will be there. Like how many days you can, your password will expired, how many days your initial password will expired. So all those password policies will be applied. So in a simpler term, if we talk about this, all these activities that GRC will do, they are going to be done with RFC user. So one RFC user from here to here, another RFC user from here to here to do the communication. And this communication, we don't want this communication to be disturbed with the password policies. So we will have this user as a system user. Okay. So this should be a system user. This is GRC and this is S4. Okay, I'm changing the user group to. See here you can see it is saying initial password which is set by administrator. So if I know the password, I can log in with this user and perform the activities. That is not purpose. So it should be a system user. So now automatically we see that password, initial password is now changed to productive password because this user, first thing he cannot log in, and second thing he don't need to change the password, and the password policies are not applicable. So this user won't like suddenly stop working. If this user is locked out or this user stop working, basically our GRC sync, our provisioning, everything is going to fail. Okay, so this is the basically use of system and communication user. Okay, and dialog user, service user is a real-time user, service user is a test account or some anonymous account, and reference user is to take references. So you create let's say HR department user and assign all the bare minimum access to HR, and then any HR user you can go and use the HR here as a reference user. Okay. So we can start with SU10.
Yes, Jack. I can see this.
Okay. So let me go to Excel, put some users that we will use. Underscore. Let's create the 7 user accounts. Okay, so we'll create them in MD1, our S4 system. So what you can do, like we are in SU10. Okay, as I said, this is very critical T code. So now I put all the users and you don't see any full name. So that means they are not created in the system. Okay, if I put ZGR, you will see something, all these users are there. So GRC1 I put, you'll see the name is coming. So this user is already there. Okay, let me remove this. So either you can put the users or you can go to authorization data. You can use all this search criteria to search the users. Okay, so since we are creating new, so our user is not going to be found out in the system. So I just put it here and hit the create. Okay, so what this will do, now there are only certain things that you can do as a SU10. So when you create the user, you cannot provide a password. I want all 7 users to have same password. Or if you try to generate the password or change the password, it is not going to give you option to change it to one password. It will do a mass change and it will give the system generated passwords. Okay, so what we are going to do, I am taking this example intentionally. So I will tell you if you have mass activities to be done on set of users, and SU10 is not going to give you that functionality, but you can use this individual maintenance to do it faster instead of doing it one user. So we'll see. Okay, I create these users. You can choose whether they are dialog users or type user group, and then this will be applicable to everyone. But you cannot give first name and last name. Only you can choose which company they belong to, because that is a individual user level maintenance. So you cannot do a mass change and put everyone's like details captured. This is first name last name for user 1, user 2. So these common fields, defaults you can assign, parameters you can assign, the roles to these users, profile, group, etc., etc. You can assign. So I'm saving these users. Okay, so you will see that these are all system generated passwords, random passwords. Okay, and then the user is created. Now, let's say we want to do the first name, last name. So what we will have to do, we will have to go to SU01, open user 1, change, do the first name, last name, come out, go to second user. So instead of that, we have this individual single maintenance functionality over here. So what you can do, put all the users, click on this single button. So now it is not going to do mass maintenance. It is going to do individual user maintenance. Let me double click on user 1. Now you can see, we see the address data and all those things. Now let's say I want to add the test ID as a first name, for example. Copy this. So as soon as I hit save and I double click on second user, it is going to open on same tab. So see, I can do this faster way. Okay. So if I'm on roles tab, let's say if I'm putting some user group, let's say end user, but this is possible from SU10. I'm just giving you the example. User group is not there. Let's put some validity. Okay. All right. So I'm putting a validity, saved. Now if I go to next user, it is going to open on the same tab. Okay. So I don't need to like in traditional SU01, what you will have to do, you'll have to go here. Okay, let's say this user, I go to logon tab, then I put this date I wanted to put. Okay, done, save, it will come out. Go to user 2, change. Again, I'm going to start here, again go here, again do the same activity. Again, I will come back to the main screen. So this is useful when you have some mass maintenance that is still manually doable. Otherwise, you can go for scripts and all other options. But this is also a good to know thing. You can do the individual maintenance and stay on the same screen and just quickly do save, 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 and individually you can maintain the users. Okay. Another thing, what we can do is lock, unlock, delete, single maintenance, change of user. Again, this will be mass change like creation. So it will open up only the things or only the fields that are applicable to all the users. So again, no first name, last name, likewise. No passwords, either you can generate or deactivate, but you cannot provide a password. Like I want to set a password to all these users, same password. Okay. So then in that case, since it is manageable, I can go to single maintenance. I can go to the password screen and just paste the password here, save this user, click on second user, paste the password, save, and do it quickly. Okay. All right. Any questions here? Let me save it. We'll use this in future. Yeah, any questions here? Anyone? Okay, so we basically covered this section on user administration. Please shoot any questions if you have. Not only technical, like how to do this, but any real-time scenarios if you have, maybe we can discuss here. It can be learning for all of us. Like if some project did something, some customization or something that you want to share on user administration, like I can share one example. Okay, what we did in one of the project. Okay, let me take the example of a go live. Okay, we'll spend 5 minutes on this. So when you have a go live, you basically have a list of users to be set up, and the go live list is basically the user master. Okay, because they are real people. So let's say I have 500 people go live. Okay, so we have the 500 people list, their HR details, first name, last name, organization, manager, supervisor, and other additional fields, which department and all those things, email IDs and everything. So we'll pick and choose fields that we are interested in, and we will finalize. Okay, I want to create the users, right? So 500 is the SAP users that I want to create. Now there are two ways. First is you do it with GRC. Okay. So with GRC, what option we have? See, this 500 user, they are not going to get the exact same role. So let's say we have 25 composite roles or business roles. Okay, just taking a random example, we have 25 composite role. Fine. So either we do it with GRC or we do it with SU10 and scripts. Okay, so let's discuss option number 1. What can be done here? And then we'll discuss option number 2. What we can do here. Okay, so 500 people and we have the role matrix, which person will get which composite role. We have 25 composite role. So let's say user number 1 is going to get 3 composite role. User number 2 is going to get 4. And it will be all random and different. It is based on the position mapping, what duties they are going to perform. Okay, so if you are using GRC, can anyone tell me how they can submit the GRCs? What way you can do this provisioning?
We need to differentiate the list based on the roles, and we need to submit a request accordingly.
Correct, absolutely correct. So what we can do is, since we have 25 roles, we can prepare a role matrix, and instead of starting with user, we can start with the role. So 25 roles, we will submit 25 GRC. Okay, so 25 GRC, 1 GRC per role. If it is many users per role, then it can be split, like to avoid any system congestion or too much load on system. Let's say there is a common role that goes to all 500. So then you can have 2-3 GRCs. Okay, let's pick 100, 150 users and submit 3 GRCs for that common role. So you will focus on the composite roles or business roles that are available and submit the GRC. You can have a customized workflow specifically for cutover and go live, where you don't need to go to managers and role owners for approval. Everything is done outside. You have the approvals, you have the list which is pre-approved. So in that case, you can create a custom workflow where there is no approvals or there is only security team approval. So with that, even if you submit the request for, let's say, 100 users and then they are getting one role, so it is not going to shoot the email to 100 managers and waiting for their approval or somebody to approve. You can create a path. So we will talk on this. We'll take an example. We'll create this path, let's say a simple cutover path or something, or a path with no approvals. You submit the GRC and automatically provisioning happens. So that way you can do this task using GRC. The benefit of this is, if you are if you are using business roles, you must do this. You cannot assign a business role from SU01 or SU10 because that is a GRC entry. That business role doesn't exist in the system. Second way to do this, if you are using composite roles, so if you assign this in system directly, GRC can still understand when you sync that, yeah, this person has this composite role assigned. Okay, so for that, what you can do, like we saw, you can do SU10, or you can do a LSMW script, or you can do a GUI script or SECAT script. Any script you can do to create the user, another script to assign the roles, and then once this is done, you just sync all this data to GRC. So then both the systems are in sync. Whatever is assigned, whatever GRC says, GRC table says this user has assigned, it is actually assigned in the connector system, and whatever is actually assigned in the system is sync and send it back to GRC. So communication is happening. And then after go live, you basically no more do this kind of provisioning. So there is some hypercare period for stabilization, 2-3 weeks or whatever they decide. After that, it has to be strictly support. So you most of the attendees from this call must be using one GRC for a user or shared users, and that is all going through all the approval path. So ideally, GRC workflow will be like, first level, it will go to a user manager. Okay, second level, it will go to the particular role owner, which role is getting assigned. The role owner has to agree and accept assignment. And then it comes to security or compliance team. If there is a segregation of duty risk, then that person has to do the mitigation part. And after that is done, it can be auto provision or it can go to the security based on the use cases. If you have some post steps to be done by security team, then it can come to security as well for approval. So you can decide who can approve, what kind of request, what kind of approvals are needed, and so on. Okay, so we'll check this all things in when we see the MSMP workflows. Okay, So that's it. I think on user side, anyone wants to discuss anything here, or we can move ahead with the next topic?
Yeah, actually one question.
Hmm.
So suppose if we raise a one GRC request on behalf of 10 users, okay. So in that at that time, all the 10 users will get the email saying this GRC request is raised on behalf of you, correct? So is
Uh,
there any way
hmm.
to do not send that email to all the users and like only one email in short, or we can say we can limited that email restrict
Yeah, yeah,
something.
there is a way. So what you can do, uh, when we are doing the path configuration, okay. So let's say you have a separate request type, mass user or something. Then what you can do in the notification templates, you can just make sure the notification is sent to requester. Okay, you don't send the notification to users. So by doing so, whoever is submitting that mass request, whether he is part of that list or not doesn't matter. If I'm submitting the request for 10 other users and the notification says this notification of request submission is going to go to the requester, so it is the mail will come to me, the user 1 to user 10, this role request is submitted, and same goes with approval. So that way you can separate this thing from a normal workflow where you are actually notifying the user. So no matter I submit the request or user or somebody submit the request, user is also notified that this request is submitted for you. So that is all is possible. uh, like based on little bit complex scenarios, you might have to do more configuration if you want to deviate from the standard functionality. Like in general, you are going to send it to users every time, like one
Correct.
user or normally. But now you are deviating from that standard functionality, so you can create a separate path and then you have full functionality what you want to do, which steps it will go. Because what happens, all 10 users might not have same manager, right? So then
Correct.
again, it adds more complexity. Are you allowing one manager to approve on behalf of all other managers, or you want, let's say that's 10 people have 4 managers, okay? So um, um, 1 and 2 and 3, they basically belong to manager 1. Then we have 4 and 5, they belong to manager 2. Likewise. So in a normal workflow, when we are doing one-to-one mapping, what you will do, this person request is submitted, it will go to user manager 1. If it is submitted for user 5, it is going to go to user 2. But if you are doing a CGRC where you are submitting access for all 5, then it will go to 1 and 2. And then you have the capability to decide whether one of them can approve or both has to approve. And then that is how the complexity increases. So you can have a separate user type or separate request type and have this particular configuration in place, so that you don't disturb the existing functionality or the simple workflows that is for one user. And then you can
Means
create a hmm,
correct. Means we can create our different path configuration. Like we can create our different path. We can align that path based on the current rule set to there, and we can do that like that.
yeah, even make it simple. You can create a separate request type at all, and then don't add that authorization to the end users. You don't want this kind of scenario to be done by end user. So normally, let's say we have request type 1, okay, and which is like user create, okay. But you create after so and so, last user type is, let's say, user type 18, and you say mass user. So don't give this user type request type 18 access to all the users, because this is a mass functionality. This has to be done by security team. So you will have these authorizations in terms of authorization objects that are there in GRC. So only security team can submit this request. So if business is doing one-to-one user mapping, they can use this functionality. If they have this scenario, I have 10 people who need this role, they will do a ticket, send that request to security team. Then security team will have all the approvals, and then security team can do this request. So it will stop basically users unintentionally selecting this mass user request type and doing some request wrongly, because this workflow and this workflow is different, and you don't want like this one user request by mistake somebody select mass user and then takes this path. Okay, so this is one way doing it. Second way is if you want to, like, if you are master in BRF plus, so what you can do, you have the same request type, but then in BRF plus you figure out a way to figure out the count of users that are there, and then based on that, or the request type is multiple, and then based on that you decide which path it will go. Okay, so that way also you can do, but that adds little bit more complexity. By doing this separate request type, you basically eliminate that people seeing this mass user in their drop down. When I go and try to create a request, I as a end user don't not at all see this thing mass user. Okay, all right, then
Yeah, it's
sure. So that's it with this then. Let us check what we want to start with, role management, or we want to, like, we have 1.5 hour. See the next topic. So anyone wants to discuss anything more on user administration, or we can conclude this topic?
Hi, Jay. Can you discuss the security policies? How we can apply the security policy to users?
Okay, security policy point. I don't recall the T codes exactly here. Let me see. So we are in
call
here.
or something is there?
Yeah, pol is one. Yeah, I started that. 1 second. Let me close this. Users are somewhere locked, so I'm not able to edit them. Here it is locked. Yeah. So close the S4 at all. We'll see this in GRC. Okay, so we are in the sec pol. Okay, this is where you can define the security policy. Let's try to create a simple policy. Z underscore C. We created a policy, and in the policy we will use some attribute. So new entries, and see here, let's say see all these 21 entries are available for us. So put a quick glance here. Check password blacklist. Okay, you can see this is pretty much descriptive. You can if you don't understand anything, you can just Google like let's say which parameter is there to see the password history. See, for example, this, and now it says 5 value. That means you cannot use last 5 password. Okay, so let me take this value. It is 5 is the value, if you see, and if I do F4, it says security policy, whatever it is. So from 1 to 100 is a permissible value. Okay, so let us make 1 here. Okay, I'll tell you the scenario, right? So I saved this policy. Now what happens? Any user I create, let us create a user. All. Okay, and create this user in GRC. Use the same password and make it a dialog user and save it. Okay, I created this user. passpol. And this is the user. Okay, now let's log in. What will happen? Can anyone tell? If I log in with this user, what will happen? The very first thing. Any guess? See, since this is a dialog user, it is going to be asking for a new password. Why? The reason is this user has an initial password. You see, initial password. So if this is a service user, this screen won't come. This won't come because service user is not going to check for your initial password or expiry or something, and is not going to push you to change the password. Now it is pushing me. So let's make this as a password 2. Okay, I'm making this as a password 2. Save. Okay, I'm in. Now again, I just want to change a password. Again, I'm not sure if it will allow us to do the same day. Let's give it a try. Usually, you can change the password once in a day or something like that. And click on the new password. Yeah, see, it is saying you can change the password only once a day. So maybe we can do this experiment tomorrow, or let us take something else. So instead of password size, let us take something else. So what this policy is going to do, if I have to explain, see, there are 21 such attributes which we can overwrite. So here we are doing this this attempt. Okay, let's do this makes failed attempt. So it is 5 attempts by default, but I want this user to be locked after first attempt itself. Okay, so this is the policy we defined. Let's grab this policy and go to this user. And if you go in logon data, you will see the security policy. And if we F4, you will see what all policies are available. So there is one policy there. That is one policy there that we created, and save this. Okay. Give me just a second. Somebody's at my door. Okay. So yeah, so we assigned a password policy to this user. Now, if we don't have a policy, this user basically won't get locked after unless and until he's putting 5 wrong password. So let's give it a try. So we'll do this user login passpol and give some wrong passwords. Okay, let's see when he's getting locked. This is the first wrong password, and just come here and see the lock status. See, it is locked right away. With very first incorrect password, it is locked. And if I do the same thing from ZGRC2, let me do on 3. Okay, give some wrong password. Okay, put the wrong password. So it is not locked. So for this user to lock, I will have to do it for 5 times, which is the system default value. But for a particular user, we can tweak the password policy, or we can tweak the parameters and let it behave like this. Okay, so this was a very good, like whoever brought this point, this very good point. So this is how you can define your security policies. Okay, security policy for system user. Okay, let's talk about a real-time example. So
this one here, Jay,
yes.
in attributes, we have selected the standard one, right? That one also, can we do the customization according to our requirements?
No, I'm not sure, but I don't think that is possible. This is
So
the standard
only
one.
existing attributes only we can do this.
Yeah, this is to this is to tweak the behavior of system for a particular set of users. So real-time example we are talking, we created a system user group, and let's say our password policy says maximum length of 10, because we cannot make it 20 for a real user, right? We cannot put 20 character length password every time we log in. But if you want to tighten your system security, if your policy says for any system user, you will have to at least set it 25 characters. You will have to combination of whatever these parameters are. And these are security parameters. If you see the labels, you will understand. So what we want to do, we want to make password length as 25. Okay, so what this is going to do, for any user which is now in security policy system, we will have to assign at least 25 length password. So any normal user, still it is whatever is the default value. What is default value if you do F4? Okay, you can see possible value are 3 to 8, 3 to 40, and then there will be a default value, that is system or basically the parameter that is set up. It will be like, let's say at least 10 length. Okay, and then we are saying no, for system user it has to be 25. So these policy will override the values that you have set up in RZ11 profile parameter.
Created policy can be transportable, right?
Yeah, it is transportable. So when I created it asked for a transport that time.
So that capital letters, small letters, that is also set from here.
Yeah, everything. There are 21 parameters, so you can tweak those 24 parameters as you wish. Let me give another try. So I think this is all going on my that tier. Test and test. See, it is asking for a tier. So I added the first entry here, so it is going all in this tier. Okay, so I created test policy. So this is, let's say, my test user account, and for test user account, I want to keep things simple. So I don't want any password history for this, right? So I can say I don't want a password history. It can be bare minimum. 1 is the less value. So I can reuse the passwords. So even if I forget, I reset the password. It is going to allow me the same password if I have to set up as a next password. But this password will be at least 5 or 15 or 24 or 30, whatever the organization policy is. If organization policy says you cannot reuse your last 10 passwords, so this value will be 10 in RZ10, which applies to all the users. And then we are pick and choosing the test user accounts, assign them this security policy, which will override, okay, the system value is 10, but for this user value will be 1. This is overwritten, and now this particular user with security policy test can still do this thing. Another real-time example is, I think can block the users using security policy. See, disable password logon for an example, or disable ticket logon. So if you basically set up this thing logon, if you disable the logon from here, or in the default values, if you disable the password logon for an example, Okay, for safety reasons, let's say you are using SNC, secure network that we discussed, and nobody needs to have a password. You just deactivate or you don't allow any password logon. But then you have a special set of users who actually need to do a password logon because they are not real user and they don't log in into Active Directory like I logged in into this ZGRC or this VDI. Like so for them, we want to allow the password logon. So then you can put the override the values here, and then this security policy people can actually access the system using passwords. Okay. So simplifying the passwords or complexity of password, length of password, how many lowercase, uppercase, mixed case, special character, those 21 parameters, you can tweak the values and create the multiple policies and assign to the users. Okay, very good. Whoever bought this.
Thanks, Jay.
I think this should be part of training as well. So let me make a note of it here. So maybe for future trainings, they can incorporate this thing. That's a good one. Okay. What else then? So are we
Just a
good
quick
on?
question, Jay.
Yes.
As we can see in S4, so I didn't find much difference in SU01, like if you talk about user administration, right?
Yes.
So is it some, it's almost the same as if we are doing in currently in ECC or you showed the GRC system.
That's correct.
Like SU, that is almost the same. Just wanted to confirm that.
No, that is correct.
There's
From security side, let me go to S4. It is pretty much same what we used to do. But as I said yesterday, the business partner, that is something which is changed from security side. And then T codes and functionality and the way T code will behave, that is upgraded.
that.
But then for us, it is a T code and Fury apps. So for us, there is no special treatment. Underlying authorization objects might be changed or upgraded. So we will again touch base. Yesterday we discussed, but from SU01 perspective, yeah, it is all same.
It's similar. Oh,
Yes,
great. Thank you.
yeah, it's all same. It's all same. Let's see BP underscore Jen. See, if you know the BP underscore Jen is a transaction to create the business partners, but it is not available here. But instead, till time it is loading. This Fury app is available. Maintain employee. Yeah. So this one, you can see it is part of this catalog. Maintain employees. So this app is available to create the business partners. Maybe when we are doing Fury, we'll add this app to a custom role, assign to a user, assign to page and space, and see it ourselves, log in and try to access that. Okay, but that is
Oh,
the difference. Yeah,
yeah, thank you.
sure. Okay, so we can start. We can start with the next topic. Um,
Hello, Jay.
yes,
Jay, all this side.
yeah, Rahul.
Jay, if you can spend 5 or 10 minutes on ST03 and T code.
ST0. Let us talk later when we
I
are
mean,
into GRC. I think in audit, somewhere in audit, we can discuss that.
okay, okay. No
Yeah,
issue.
because
And yeah,
yeah.
I was interrupting. You're telling something?
No, no. I was saying we will take it in a flow.
Okay, sure. Jay, I have another question. That is, it's like when we say S4, is it just exact replacement of ECC along with Fiori and native HANA, or just replacement of ECC with along with Fiori?
Give me just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just putting down the topics here. Yeah. So your question is basically, can you repeat that? Um,
Sure, Jeff. My question is, I mean, when we talk about S4, so basically we don't, as you just said earlier, that there is no much change in S4. So when we say S4, what it is? I mean, exact replacement of ECC, what we have previously, or along with Fiori, or S4 is a replacement of ECC with Fiori with native HANA. I mean HANA
uh,
database.
no, I think yesterday we spent a good amount of time on that, understanding the architecture. So for sure, it is a big step. It is not just replace the ECC and just give something else that is exact same. So if you look at the functionality that is available as a business or as a actual departments like finance, so there is a big improvement the way they have their modules placed, the way they are integrated in between. So if you as a business moving from ECC to S4, and if you are ready to take the journey of improving your business processes, then it is a real value. Okay, in that case, it is a real value. But if you have lift and shift approach, means I am using this screen, I am very much fine with this screen. I just want this screen to be used in S4 system. So that is a technical upgrade. So what happens, although they have given you 100 more Fury apps, 100 more functionalities, but you are saying no, for now I am happy with the way my system work, let me continue do same. And in that technical upgrade, or that will be called as brownfield approach, where you are sticking to your system the way it is working now. Only impact you will observe or you will accept is the functionality is no more available. So yesterday we discussed three categories. I will maybe uh, again put down here in some time when we discuss SU25. So in technical terms, if you are saying I am happy the way system works, and there is a reason, like let's take an example of big companies. So they don't want to disturb their business and in a rush, like jump from ECC to S4, because that is a big step, and they don't want to disturb their existing businesses taking this journey. If they are trying to explore the real benefits, what they can do is go with a smaller business, less revenue business, and try to shift it to S4. So with that, they will have some business processes upgraded in S4, and then they can refer that and leverage that implementation for remaining companies, like go one business at a time. And swiftly move to the S4. But as a functionality, it is a big thing. And yesterday we discussed the performance improvements, and yeah, HANA is a must. S4 HANA is a HANA only database. And yesterday we discussed row store, column store architecture, where the performance is improved. Like you can do the reporting as well as transactions in the same system. So like queries which will take hours or which will take a lot of time and resources in ECC, which you cannot do there, you can still do in S4HANA. That is a quick system. So security terms, as I said, no big difference for us, but functionality side, it is a big difference. And if business is taking that journey, and then that is a big journey, right? If you are doing a greenfield implementation, greenfield in the sense like this system is a from scratch. We don't have a GRC, we don't have another GRC, my legacy GRC, where I have access request, where I submit the request, manager approves, and then provisioning happens. So in that term, if I still want to stick to the same functionality named new GRC, although it is giving me 5 more options, but no, what I'm saying is no, my business or my the colleagues who take care of this thing, they are used to this functionality. You give me the exact same functionality in this GRC. So that is a technical move. From old GRC, I'm just moving to the new GRC and not using the functionalities that it is providing. But if we take greenfield approach is no, this is a fresh system. We go and discuss with the business. No, there are 5 more options. There is a role owner approval. There is a functional department owner approval. How do we want to place our access request going forward? And then we come up with a new strategy. Yeah, this is how a simple access request, simple display roles, nobody has to approve. Change role, manager has to approve. A critical role, manager plus department has to approve. Then that is an improvement, right? Functionality is there, but then we are accepting and improving our business processes. So ECC and S4 architecture wise also they are different. ECC used to work on any database. S4 HANA is purely HANA, and you have the Fury on ECC, but the apps, when we discuss on Fury app library, you will see which apps are available only on HANA, and then they have fact sheet and analytical apps where you can quickly get the data. So those apps are not available for your ECC. There are some apps which are HANA only apps. So if your database is HANA, then only those apps will work. And they are like complex app. Simple app is like in our terms, raise access request. That is a simple app. You are not doing any big analysis over there, or approve a GRC request. Okay, that is a simple app. Raise a purchase request, approve a purchase request, display order. These are a simple transactional app. But then there are apps where maybe the complex processing happens and it gives you the results, or contextual search. You start typing and you get the results. Like you start typing, for example, a username, and it pulls you and show you, okay, these are the requests while you are typing. These are the requests, GRC requests. I'm just throwing an example. Or you start typing a supplier name and you get the information. Okay, these are open requests for that. So that additional functionality or those apps, those complex apps are HANA only. Okay, so security terms, it is same for us, but in business terms, it has big changes if you incorporate them. Otherwise, technical upgrade, you just deal with what is gone and what is changed, and whatever is available, you will just say I'm happy with this. So if SU01 T code is still available, no, I'm happy with SU01. I don't want to go to SU01H where there are 10 additional functionalities and benefit. No, I'm happy with SU01. So that is what is a technical upgrade. Okay. Fine. So shall we start with the next topic then? Okay, let's take the role administration. So is everyone comfortable working with roles? So
Yes, sir.
we have we planned 2 hours here, but if everyone is comfortable, we can try to take this topic and finish it quickly. Um, so if time permits, we can then touch base on SU25 as well. So we will start with the role, and let's try to take questions actually instead of just showing the simple things on the role side. So okay, let me go back to the session. Role administration is what? 5th. Okay, so role administration. Yeah. Okay. Please go through this disclaimer once again. Okay, so this will be our agenda for role administration. So SU24 is very important in role management. Then role administration, role types we can discuss, and deleting the role, changing the roles, etc. We'll discuss. Okay. So SU24 from attendees, anyone who haven't worked on SU24?
Yes.
So
Yes,
you worked or not worked? Sorry.
yeah, word.
Worked. Okay. Okay. Anyone who has not worked at all on SU24? Or everyone has?
Yes, actually, we have worked a little bit, but not as that much. It's like initial phase only.
Okay. All right. So like everyone has at least touched or executed SU24 once. That's what I understand. So we will discuss SU24. This is very important transaction for us. So going back to PPT, SU24, okay, it is transaction for maintaining the authorization objects and field level authorizations. Okay, we'll see that in the system. Okay, maintain the assignment of authorization objects. Okay. It will offer the functionalities as displaying the authorization objects and field associated with the transaction, modify the field level authorization checks, maintain the default values, and analyzing the impact changes on authorization checks. Okay. So SU24 is a build accelerator. Okay. We'll discuss why. And it is definitely part of the best practices for role build. Okay. So what he is going to do is reduces the access creep. So if we are to add an authorization or a transaction to a role and we don't know which objects are linked to that T code, it will be a hell. It will be a hell lot of work for security team to just sit with the function team who is executing the transaction, and each and every activity that he does, figure out, take the trace or figure out the object and then add it to the role and then move it to the testing phase again, right? So if we don't have a list like SU01, our T code only, we don't know how many authorization objects are internally checked, then it is very difficult. Like you go to SU01, try to create a user, it says this object is missing. You add that, then try to lock, it says this one is missing, that one is missing. So that is where SU24 is very important. It is going to reduce that extra efforts and is going to give you the standard set of authorizations that are already mapped or checked in that transaction. And it will reduce the authorization error. So even if you have a list, let's say SAP gives you the list in a downloadable format, then still it is a headache for you to go and ensure that each and every object is fully maintained or added to the roles that T code is added. Okay, so SU24 is going to automate that task for us. When we do the profile generation in PFCG, SU24 will check the transactions and reduce that effort and increase the build quality. Okay, and it simplifies and improve the impact analysis. Fine. When a T code is impacted, basically the impact is observed in SU24, and wherever it is T code added, it will give you the list of roles that are impacted, and then you can get those roles tested with the change in that transaction. So all these are benefit of SU24. All right, so we will finish with the PPT first and then go to the systems. Okay. So as we know, in security terms, basically we have a authorization object. Okay, that is the lowest level of entity from where we can control the authorizations. So authorization object will basically have fields into it. So we can see, let's take example of S user GRP. So it has, let's say, two field: user group, which user group, and what activities you can perform on that. So that fields will have the values that you can provide into them. Okay, and then authorization object is assigned to object class. So all the S objects, for example, they are for basis. Okay, all F are from let's say finance. All P are from HR, for example. So that is how they will do the naming. S underscore stands for basis authorization objects. P will stand for HR, P underscore whatever it is. Likewise. So our authorization object will have fields, and then we provide the values. That particular thing becomes an authorization. So authorization object will have an entity, an existence. Like my authorization object S underscore user GRP in a role, there is authorization existence where they will give some number to that. Yeah, this is authorization, and then in that we have the values. So that becomes a pool of authorizations, and what we do, we add those values into a role. Okay, so our role is going to have the authorization objects authorization. In that we will maintain the fields with the values, what value we want to assign. And then this pool of authorization is basically generated into a profile, and you can have these single roles added to the composite roles. So we'll see into the system. So when you want to assign something to a user, you don't have to worry about what value and what field. What you can do is assign the composite role or assign the single role to user, and all authorizations that are included into the role will be assigned to user. Okay, and role has basically the reports and transactions and all those things. So based on that, when we discuss SU24 in system, we will see how it will pull the authorizations. So basically in a role administration, role name, description of role, the menu structure of role, authorization data profile, user elements, what organizational entities, then some personalization mini apps. So this is not widely used. Mainly we will deal with the this thing, role menu and the authorizations, and what all other things we can add into the role menu in terms of Fury. We'll discuss on that. Okay, so we will see this on system, creating a single role, changing the role, we'll see in the system. Deleting the roles also we'll see in the system. Okay, so any questions here? All right, so let us start with SU24. So as you said, like all of you have executed and used the SU24, but maybe not to the full functionality, or basically you are using the functionality, but let us go through that, how exactly it impacts. Okay, so I'm executing the SU24. This is my S4 system. So let us take an example of ME53N. Display a purchase requisition. Okay, and execute here. Okay, so here it is saying no authorization object assignment for your selection. Okay, very good. We have a very good example actually, since this is a fresh system. Okay, so here nothing is there. Can anyone take a guess why SAP is not providing anything for this T code?
SE25 not executed it.
That's correct. That's exactly the reason why we don't see anything. So we'll touch base the SU25 as well here. Why this has no data? So there are two tables, very important tables. How SU24 works basically. Okay, and this is also related to SU25. So USOBT, USOX. These are the SAP standard tables. Okay, these two are SAP delivered tables, and these are for customer space. These are there for to be used by customer. So why they have two different tables? This is the same table. This is also same table. Only this is SAP delivered. This is customer space. What customer is using now? This is also SAP delivered. This is just a customer space for that. So like we just discussed, ME53 and T code we are checking. Okay, let's look at this T code. Now I am into USOBT here. This is USOBT underscore C. And I put MB53 and I see 106 values. Okay. And let us do same to USOBX. Okay. For now, just don't pay too much attention what values they are. We'll discuss. And here 155. Okay. So if you look at USOBX, you'll see this T code is there and there is an object. And then there is some flags marked yes, no, or whatever it is. We'll see. We'll see into the system. So why there is same thing is not available in customer space. So we'll come to that now. So I'll just put it here USOBX. This thing is showing T code to auth object, and this is showing T code to object values. Okay, we'll check on that. So what happens? Okay, first thing first, why two table? So what happens? Like yesterday we were discussing, when there is an upgrade, what SAP will do, they will tell you three options. Like let's talk on this thing, S4 to ECC to S4 migration. Yesterday we talked in terms of technically. Okay, greenfield, as we discussed, full-fledged, you will sit with the functional team from scratch and you will define your business process. So that is all kind of a fresh implementation. So you don't have a headache what previously was maintained in your SAP system, because you are doing a fresh implementation. But when you are doing a brownfield implementation, when you are sticking to your existing functionality and just moving technically to a new system, in that case, like yesterday we discussed, there are three things possible. Okay, first, instead of here, let me put it in Excel, that will be better. Okay, so what are the three things available? Okay, okay. First thing, no change at all. This is a very good case for security. Why? Because we don't have any efforts. if a T code is staying as it is and there is absolutely nothing that is changing, that is really good for us. Correct? We don't have to do anything here. Whatever authorization or whatever role is there, whatever T code is there, everything stays as it is. Very good. No change at all. Second thing is there is a change. Okay, in change there are three categories. So firstly, a change in auth object. Okay, auth object in the sense ME53N. Right now we see here, let's say 155 entries here or 120. Let's take a rough number, and here 155 entries. Okay, and when we copy this thing here in our customer space, let's say I have the same now. I'm using what SAP given me before, same values. Now SAP says no, I'm adding 5 more auth objects here. Okay, T code to auth object. So what SAP will do, it will make this 160 because he is proposing me 5 more objects. Okay, and this might be like 125, let's say. Now, when we do SU25, when we do the upgrade analysis, what this SU25 will do, it will go here, check these two values. Okay, check these two values. He will do the comparison here. He will do the comparison and give us the output. Okay, he will give us the output comparing these tables. So that is why, and then it is up to us how we want to deal with these values. So that is why there are two tables. Okay, if we have only one table, when SAP will do a next release, okay, automatically everything is disturbed. If we are using, if our SU24 is using these tables instead of this table, so now SAP made 160, so I don't have option. SAP made 160, so I will have to just go ahead and deal with the 160 values now. I cannot argue with SAP, or I cannot choose no, I don't want these 5 objects, yes or no, right? So we will talk on SU25 steps as well, but this is basic comparison. Why there are two tables, why there is a customer specific table, and why there is a SAP table. So what happened now? This is a fresh system. So we are talking of a greenfield implementation. Greenfield in the sense this is a total new system. We don't have anything here. So let's go to SU25. Okay, so SU25, what you can do is you can read about this transaction here. Okay, what each and every step does. Okay, so we'll do it one by one. I will tell you, but initially this step is important. So when a system is fresh, okay, what do I mean by fresh system? It is a newly installed, that is correct. But after installation, basis did not copy anything from any other system. Okay, so if tomorrow, let's say this is MD1, or let's call this is my development system. Okay, if tomorrow we are building a quality system, so what basis will do? It will install a fresh system on fresh server, but it will copy the things, or it will transport the things from here to that system. So when they transport or when they copy, that time these tables and everything will be filled up, because whatever we do will be captured in a TR, and then that TR is released and imported into college system. Then your values are there. So you don't need to do this thing in that system. So initial fill of customer table, this is to be done in greenfield implementation. Okay, very important. So what we'll do is we'll just select everything and we'll just execute. Okay, thank you. So yeah, we were discussing SU25. Okay, so we are talking of SU24. Now these two tables, where is that? Yeah, so these two tables, if you want to see the data, as you can see, it is available in SU22. So what he's doing basically, SAP has transferred the SU22 standard data. Okay, so ME53N. So yeah, so these data, these here you will see the objects that were part of table. So this is now transferred to SU24. So if we look at the SU24 now, so here if I go back and now execute, okay, so this is basically our SU24. So now this data is copied what SAP has provided. Okay, so if you can see, it has given me 155 or whatever is this number, these many authorization objects, and it is telling whether it will be checked or not. You can see the check status. Okay, so in some objects it is do not check, so they are not going to check this object. But wherever the check mark is yes, then the next thing is they are saying, are we going to give you any default values to look after? So if we just sort it to yes and yes, so basically you can see B Bupa GRP, this object will be checked. This object is been provided with some default values. So if I double click on this object, yeah, you can see what SAP has provided me as a default value, activity F4. Okay, so when we do a actual F4 and F4 activity, you can see F4 is what display value in help. So whatever I did just now, that is basically a help. We are getting a help and it is showing me these are the available values. Okay, likewise, and then we try to edit and see F4 here. So it is going to check whether I have access to do F4. So F4 activity is basically whatever we are doing here. See, this is a F4. I'm trying to get some help. What T code I have the options. This is F4. So if I don't have the F4 or display activity, I'm not going to get this list. This is the extra check that S4 has been bought. Previously, this was not there. So you can just go and do the F4s and see the data. Now you need to have the F4 or display access to actually do this F4. Right. So any questions here? What these two tables are? So this is basically our SU22, what SAP delivers, and
So
SU24.
in SU25, first step you have run, right? Is the
Correct. That too only for a fresh installation. So since this is a fresh installation, our SU24 was totally blank. And now after running that first step here, the data of SU22 is copied to SU24, and you can see now here the date and time is occurring. Okay, who executed this step and when it was executed. Okay, fine. So coming back here, we are discussing SU25. What happens? Like no change at all, absolutely fine. We are very happy, nothing is changing. So no security change or no security impact. Second is authorization object change. Now this case. So let's say MA53N in ECC have 155 objects. In S4 it has 160 objects. So what we will have to do, we will have to incorporate these 5 changes. What SAP has recommended more. If they have added more authorization checks on some object, if yes, when we are moving to S4, we will have to ensure that those 5 authorization objects are part of my role, correct? Otherwise, some activity will fail. It will say you don't have access to this activity. So when the authorization object is changed, that means T code is saying T code stays. It is same. T code is staying, but we will have to ensure PFCG roles are synced. So when we basically do this impact analysis, and I will put the step number here where it will observe. Okay. In SO25. So what we will have to do, we will have to accept the changes or reject the changes and then sync the roles. PFCG role sync is required. We need to update the roles. Second thing is T code. T code is, let's say T code is no more available. T code is obsolete. So in that case, what happens? Since this T code is gone, what options we have? We have a new T code. We have a new version T code. or we have a Fury app, or we have nothing, absolutely nothing. Okay, so third category of change where T code is not available. So let's say ME53N is no more available in S4. So what are they telling? Are they giving us a new T code, ME53H, for example? If that is the case, for sure, we will have to remove the ME53N from all the roles and add the ME53H so that the users will use that transaction, correct? So PFCG role sync is required. Role update and sync are required. If it is new version, like we just spoke of a new version example, H version, but let's say ME53N is gone and they're saying, no, this functionality is part of another T code, ME54, for example. So in that case, same things happens. We have to remove this and then add the newer version, replacement T code. So new T code instead of say replace T code. So a replacement T code is provided. So we will have to add that or ensure it is part of the authorizations that user, whoever was using this T code now have to use that replace T code. New version in case, yeah, if this stays and they're saying, no, you add H version as well, HANA version, that is beneficial, you add it. If it is a Fury app, mandatory Fury app, so they said, no, this is no more to be done by T code, for an example, business partner. So they gave maintain employees. So Fury app, so we will have to add, yes, we will have to ensure that whoever was having access to this T code, now they have the access to Fury app, they have the required training, they are testing the changes, they are comfortable with using the Fury app. This is all security impact, but we need to communicate this impact to the respective functional team and ensure the change management team is taking this journey through with the impacted users. So like the question is not for security team. You gave the Fury app access, now teach me how to use that. No, that is a change management team or that is a functional team's call, whether they are going to accept this route or they have another way to do this functionality. We don't know, but these are the impacts from security side that we observe. And then we get the answers from them what to do with this T code. This T code is no more available. Tell us what to do. A Fury app is replaced. So they will tell us, yeah, let's accept the Fury app and we will educate the users. They will use the Fury app going forward. Okay. And nothing is basically this T code is not at all possible. This functionality is totally not at all possible. And it almost 90% or more than that, you will see they were never used anyway. Because SAP has thousands of T code, lakhs of T code actually. And then not everything is used. So what you can do basically when you do this impact analysis, okay, very critical part or very important part for this block is execution count. So our focus point will be what is used most. So if MB53N, we observed there are in last 6 months, there are 5,000 users who are using this T code and there are 1 lakh executions. So this is an absolute critical T code for me to focus on. Versus, let's say there is another T code, only MB53. Okay, this is also T code, N is also T code, this is also T code. But we see this is only used by 5 people. Okay, and that 2,000 or 100 times. So clearly the difference is there. We understand this T code actually was not required. Even if this is gone, nobody cares because this functionality is already there in this T code, and this T code, whatever is happening with this T code, let's say authorization object to change, हम लोग बोल रहे हैं, like we are saying 120 to 125 is going. So we need to be very careful and ensure this is tested properly because this is lakhs of executions. So execution count and user count, this is important. How many users are executing and how many times they are executing. And this we basically then categorize the transaction or changes which are very important. And you will see somewhere like, let's say there was a XYZ T code which nobody used. And then they are saying it is not available. Okay, fine, we don't care. Anyway, no one is using. It is not part of my roles. Okay, another point is roles. Okay, but then if somebody is using, that means it is part of our roles, right? So if something is not part of our roles, we don't care. If they say with this XYZ T code, previously it has 5 entries, now I'm proposing 5,000 entries in this table. Okay, we are fine because we are anyway not using this. Just accept the changes and move ahead. If later we are using this, later when we decide to start using this T code, anyway it is going to be a new functionality. It is going to be a small project inside the project, and that time all these 5,000 authorizations that we accepted now will come into picture, testing will happen, and then it will go live as a mini functionality or whatever it is. So just to give an example, let's say we are not using timesheet, okay, and cat2 is a timesheet T code, for example. Now whatever SAP is proposing from ECC to S4HANA, I don't care what upgrades they are doing to cat2, what new authorization objects they are bringing in, because anyway I'm not using that functionality in ECC. Later, after we are on S4, after let's say 6 months down the line, they decide, okay, let's start using the timesheets. So that time it will be basically, yeah, cat2 is the T code we will assign to everyone. Everyone has to enter the time in the SAP system. Then that time cat2 testing will happen, and then the functionality will be tested, and then a go live will happen, users will be trained, and so and so. So the approach is very important. Which are the critical T codes and what is happening on those T codes, and then this is what we communicate to the teams, functional teams, and they will take the call. They will take the call what to do. So T code authorization object change, T code is no more available, or T code is obsolete, and then we will observe the role changes and we work with the team to accommodate the changes. Right? Any questions here? What is our security approach here? And mainly after we do all these things, our thing is to ensure we do the PFCG, accommodate the changes, and another critical phase is testing. We try to push them to test the changes that are impacted. So testing can be two types. One testing is positive testing, where we are checking the T codes impacted, they are still behaving correctly. And second type of testing is, let's say the role has 5 T codes, 1 T code was impacted, other 4 T codes are, although they are not impacted in SU24, but if something is removed from existing T code, okay, like we are saying here 155 to 160. Another case is it is 150. They are reducing something. That can be also case. And in that case, just to ensure other 4 T codes are not negatively impacted, they can be unit tested as well. But it goes based on efforts, how much efforts they can spend, functional team, how much efforts they are designed to, they have dedicated for these efforts. But this is something that you can again push as a unit testing or somewhere in the project phase, that if they are using some automation or something, if they can test the T codes that are part of roles, the roles that are getting updated, but they are not directly impacted. Okay, so this is something you can propose. T code not directly impacted, but roles impacted. Okay, so any questions here? Then we can go into the SU25 and see how we get these changes. All good? Right. So we are here, SU25. Okay, we did this step number 1. So step number 2 is when this post process steps when upgrading to a higher release. So this can be the like same version release change, or this can be a big jump like ECC to S4. So what we have to do is, first step is automatic comparison with SU22 data. So this is just a comparison step. This is what this is going to do. This is going to do this analysis. Okay, what are the values? These are the new values after upgrade. So it is going to compare 125 with 120, 160 with 155, and it is going to give us the output. Now there is no point executing this here, because when we install the system, we just copied data from SU22 to SU24. So the data is exact same. So what this will do, just compare the records, this 120 to 120, 155 to 155, and tell us everything is fine. But when you are doing this, when there is some change in the system, then there are some T codes impacted, then it will tell you, yeah, these are the impacted changes. Okay, and this is an automatic comparison. Okay, in step number 2, modification comparison. So whatever changes this step shows to you, you will accept those changes here. Okay, so you will basically accept the changes here, and what it will do, it will basically, if you go to expert mode, okay, you can do it for one T code as well. So let's just do it on ME53N instead of running this thing on all the T codes. Let us do it for one T code. Okay, and okay, I'm clicking this identical data if it is same, just to see the output, how it will show me. Okay, now comparison is happening for this transaction. See, it is saying it is already completed because we just loaded. Let me uncheck this, so it will show us, still show us the data. So because of the upgrade, if something is changed in this T code, we'll observe the changes here. Okay, see this T code, it is saying no comparison required because everything is good. Okay, this everything is good because everything is exact same copy. But if there is something, you will see here this authorization object, this value is missing, this object itself is missing, and then you basically you basically go to SU24, either manually do the changes, or you do the automatically accept the changes whatever they are proposing, or you manually just say I check this thing and I don't want to do any changes. Once you mark it checked, then even if you come back and execute, it is not going to show you the same difference, because SAP knows now there is a difference. There is a difference in 125 and 120, and you are okay with this. You want to stick to 120. So every time you don't want to come here and see the same thing again and again. Hey, these 5 values are different. So all you need to do is just you are done. You will say, yeah, I just check these changes. I'm done with this. No more. I don't want to see this again and again. Okay, so so there is comparison, there is a modification. In modification there are 2 ways. One is it will do automatically, you don't have to do anything. But yesterday someone was asking the question what to happen with custom T code. Okay, let's say leave it aside custom T code because they are not going to be part of SU22 anyway, so they are not going to be coming here. But let's say in ME53N I have a custom authorization object Z_ME53N here. Okay, now what will happen when SAP is going to compare this value with this value? Okay, he is not going to find this value here because that is not SAP propose. You agree with me? This is something that customer did. So the ME53N will basically have a change flag in that table. So this is something that you change manually. So whatever changes SAP is doing here, they are not going to just publish automatically. SAP will let you choose what you want to do. It was 125, 120, you want to accept, stay as it is, you want to add those values or remove something. If they are going from 155 to 150, do you want to take out those 5 values? All those options are available to you to do it manually. Okay, till the time you are in sync with SAP, this thing will happen automatically. But if you have touched this SU24, then SAP is not going to do it automatically. It will allow you to pick and choose what you want to do with this change. Okay, so this is what we do basically. Again, things will dependent on what is the business case, what objects are coming, and then you basically, for us it is a simple thing. Authorization object is getting added, authorization object is getting removed, or authorization object is staying as it is, but values are getting changed. So previously SAP was not proposing anything, now SAP started proposing, or previously SAP was proposing something, now they are not proposing. So our impact or our focus my role should not be changed because of that thing. So this SU24 change internally, whatever is happening, when I go to PFCG and I pick a role where ME53N is added, I want to stick to my role as it is. If they are adding some more authorization object, I want to ensure those authorization objects are added to my role. I put the proper values and the T code test fine. The functionality is still working. That is the important part here. Okay, going back to this thing, step 2A and 2B we discuss. So 2A will do comparison, 2B will do the modification. Either it will be automatic or it will be a manual one. Okay, then step 2D is where it will give you the obsolete application. So here basically it will tell you the roles in which you have the T codes that are obsolete, that are no more available. Okay, and 2C is where you will find the roles which are impacted because all these changes. So maybe here you might see 1000 roles and then 800, 900 are SAP roles. And then only 100 roles are your Z roles, which you actually use. And then that is where you need to focus what PFCG changes you want to do onto those roles. Okay, so this is step 2, which is important. Step 3 is basically transport. So like whatever we did just now, if I click on this, okay, it will capture a transport and my SU24 full SU24 data will be available in that tier. And if I'm building a quality system from here, MQ1, I can just transport this thing and everything that I did in SU24 will be transported to my next system. So that is where I don't need to do again this initial field or anything. Okay, so these are the important steps till step 3, and next is all. I mean, these all are just the links that we individually use, but mainly this is what we have to do in terms of transport to understand the impact that is there. Be it any transport, be it any migration, be it version upgrade or be it ECC to S4 migration, and only thing is you will deal with more and more records. When it is a minor release change, hardly anything changes in the T code. And then you have some T code which may not be used and you just accept everything and just finish with the SU25. And in case of a big migration like ECC to S4, you will see the critically used T codes are impacted, and then you basically work with the functional team to see which category they fit in. And based on that, you amend your PFCG roles and ensure that the functionality is testing fine. It is still working. The T code still works, and replacement T codes or Fury apps that you are adding, they work fine. Okay, so we are good here. So we can go to the PFCG part and see the actual role change now. Any questions on this? Okay, I'll take that as no. Fine. So here,
is it possible to run the 2A 2B steps in S25?
It is not going to give, like I just ran it for one T code. Here it is not going to give you anything. The reason is we just copied SU22 to SU24. So even if you run for all 1 lakh T code, it is going to give you same. Just let's do it for another one. Okay, I'm doing it in a same thing. Where is that SU25? Same thing. I'm just doing it in expert mode. So step 2 for expert mode, and we are doing it in one of the T code. Let's do it for SU01 here. Okay, and just uncheck and check this to see the output. Identical data also we want to see. That's why. So this is what we are doing. We are running the 2A step here, which is doing the comparison. But as I said, the system is exact same. So no matter how many times you run, it is going to give you the no comparison is required because everything is fine.
In case the system is not a fresh system, then we need to start from 2A, right? Not at first step.
Yeah. So let's say this system, okay, whatever this system is, we put upgrade to this system. Whatever version this is now, okay, we are at this stage. We are done with the SU25. Now this system is upgraded a minor version. Then when we run this automatic comparison, there is something is changed. something like 1 T code, 2 T code, 5 T codes are changed. And those T codes, you will observe them here in 2A. And then when you run the 2B, if those T codes are not touched by us, automatically SAP will adjust the values, the default values, authorization object added, removed, everything they will do. But if it is touched by us, like in this case, we're discussing, we added ZME53N, or we just said whatever SAP propose, you propose display, no, I want change. We added a change here. Okay, so USOBT says, let's say object 1, and it says display value. They gave display as a default value, and we change this to object 1 and make it display plus change. Okay, so here, although object is same, values are different. So this value table, it is going to give you the difference here. This is not matching. Count may be same. Okay, this is also same count. This is also same count, but the value is different. So SAP is not automatically going to do it everything for you. It will show you this T code for manual adjustment. So when you do SU25, maybe let me see. See, here is a test mode. Okay, so you can do this test mode if you have a sandbox, but I would still recommend, rather doing this, you just go to expert mode. Instead of putting system resources at use, you just do the exact same thing on 1T code. This is the exact same thing on 1T code in expert mode. And I will give you the table, which will give you PR. This is the T code, which will tell us the T codes. Let me put the 100 T codes which are. Oh, this is blank because again, no history. But this table is basically the same thing, which is going to tell us the obsolete T codes, which T codes are no more available. So this PRG and underscore CURR2. This table is also useful when you are doing this pre-analysis. So what happens when a project is to come, not everything is available, because all these things you will come to know when you have a system upgraded. Maybe sandbox is upgraded, you run SU25 there, then you come to know, yeah, these are the exact changes, or these many records or these many T codes are changing. But when the project is to come with you, at that time you don't have this exact numbers with you, and you are estimating how much of security efforts this needs, how many resources will be needed, how to plan, like when I need 2 people, when I need 4 people in my team. So that time, this is all based on estimates, right? And then that time you can maybe get the table data, or your company has homegrown applications which do the comparison and tell us from functionality side what all changes are happening, and from security side also it tell us some impact analysis. Yeah, these many things are expected to be changed. Or you go to the SAP sites and you download the PAM, product availability matrix, and all those downloadables. You go to the version that you are moving to download the things, and you read through them, and you try to understand what has changed from there. Okay, so initially it is too vague, it is estimation, but when you run the SU25, this is where you get the exact what is changing in terms of security, what is available, what is not available, what is changing, and then functional teams basically take that call, what they are going to do. Are they taking a new route in the functionality? Are they using the Fury app? Are they discontinuing that functionality? And so and so. Okay, so let's come back to the SU24 here, and let me show you what is actual use. So now, keeping upgrade aside, let's say upgrade and all those things are done. Okay, we are discussing of SU24 use now, normal SU24. Whatever is accepted in upgrade, whatever is not accepted, done, final, finish. That chapter is over. This is our SU24, final SU24 that I'm sticking to. And as I tell here, You have the check indicator, you have the default value. Wherever there is no default value, that means the object is not going to be proposed into the role. And we will see this example. Maybe we'll see these two objects here. Okay. So how this thing plays a part. Okay. So PFCG role management. Okay. Z_ME53N. This is a role. Now let's quickly talk on the role type. So you all might be aware, single role. Single role is something that is an individual role. Composite role will have multiple single roles. So you can create a composite role and have 5, 10, 20 single roles added to it. Then there is a derived role concept. So I'll come to that. Let's first create the single role. Single role or master role. If we are deriving from this role, we will call this as a master role. And then there is an enabler role. So I will talk on that as well. Okay, so this is my ME53N and let me call it master. So sake of show you what is there. Okay, so we created this role. See, if you put role derived from, so if this role is a derived role, you can put the master role here. Now what we'll do, we are creating the parent role or master role now, and we will derive it further. So this is my role. I will put some history. This role is for what use, this role is for ME53N for business people or this department or whatever it is, and change history, when created, why created, something like that. Okay, so important thing is we go to the menu and we add the transaction. Okay, ME53N, we added the transaction, click OK. So now what happens, once this T code is added here, we have to save the role. So menu is updated and we can go here. Since this is first time, we are just getting the proposal for a profile name. So system proposed this profile name. We go to expert mode. Every time when there is a change in role menu, always go to expert mode, save the role and select the option to merge the profile. Now, since there was no profile, it did not ask us, but I'll show it to you once I come back and do it again. So these are the org levels, like basic security stuff, as you all are already working here. Company code, work center, and so this thing. So I'm just putting the full authorization here and moving ahead. So we'll see the things that are green, no more maintenance is needed. These all values are maintained. But whatever is yellow, that is means you have the half of the values or some fields are still open. So then just to do this in maintenance, I'm just putting the full values here. Okay, I'm just putting the full values and then everything is green. Okay, now generating the role. Okay, come back and here we'll just see that expert mode again. When you do the expert mode, when you make any changes, like you add another T code or you remove some T code, always go for this thing. Read the old status and merge with the new data so that the old data and new data is compared and then you get the proposal if a new object is added or not or whatever it is. Now here we are to discuss these two objects. So let me see if this object is automatically came. Okay, I'm searching it here. Okay, this is not here. Why? Because if you see, the check is yes, this object will be checked whenever a T code is, this T code is calling the functionality for business partner or proposed complete related stuff, it will be checked, but it is not default value, it is not proposed. When it is not proposed, it is not going to come here since it is not proposed. But just take the example below. This thing is proposal is yes. When proposal is yes, then that object will be proposed into the role. If I search it here, you will see it is here. And this F4 value, we did not put this F4 value. So where it is coming from, if you go and double click on this. So proposal is yes, but what they are proposing, which value they are proposing. So see, activity F4 they are proposing and this field is blank. Okay, but this is a org field. So that is why when we put star here in the authorization group, no, this is no, this is not a org field. When I put star values from here, that time it got maintained. So this can be Z star or this can be anything. just putting anything here. So likewise, we maintain this value. F4 is coming as a standard value. And if you do this mountain here on this object, it will tell you, yeah, it is coming from ME53N activity F4. This is blank. If this same object is coming from 40 codes, you will see 40 codes here, which all 40 codes in this role are giving you this value from where this value has actually came into the role. Okay. So if tomorrow or because of upgrade, let's say a new object is added here, I'll take that change. Okay. Now SAP says this object is also must object. This object, which was no previously. As part of my upgrade, it says no. Now this is a mandatory. So when they say no to yes, there are three options here. Yes is basically yes, this is a mandatory and you can maintain the values like this. Okay. Second option, no, yes without values. If we choose that, the object will come, the values will not come. So it will be a blank. This F4 will not come. It is a blank. It is your duty to go and put the values here, whatever you want to put. So let's make it yes without values because we already see the example yes and with values. So let's make it yes without values. And save it. Okay, so I'm just putting it in a TR. Okay, very well, this is saved. So let's say this change is happened because of upgrade. Okay, we accepted, yeah, this is a new object, which is now absolute must. It has to be put into the role. So our duty is after this is changed, we have to go here, come back, okay, and ensure we are going into the export mode because now the authorization SU24 data is changed and you will see a new entry has came which has no values proposed because we said, yeah, object is required, values we will deal with. You don't tell us the values. So we maintain this. Now, what we can do actually, since we changed the SU24 for this data, we can go to SU25 and show you how it will show. When we do this analysis in comparison, let me go to expert mode and now compare this value. Okay, so now you will see because of upgrade, whatever data is there in SU22, this data does not fully match with the data that is there because we made a change. Okay, see what he's saying. This transaction, it says manual comparison required, step 2B. The reason is we touch this. You can see the change by ZGRC1. So we changed this manually. That is why SAP cannot automatically accept or deal with the changes that are there. Okay, so I select this entry, go to manual comparison because it is saying manual comparison required. You can see this T code is red. I just double click on the T code. And if you see here, see the sync button. Okay, I'm just sorting on that. So we will focus on the right object. See, this object is something that we disturbed or we updated. So check and check. So SAP said check, we are saying check, very well. SAP said I'm not going to propose this object, we are saying yes, propose without values. So this is where the difference is, right? And the sync button, what it will do when we get copy, that means because of upgrade, SAP said, oh, previously we are putting this object. Now we are saying no, this object is not required. If I sync this, it will make it no. It will basically sync and make it no, right? And then or if I don't have to deal with this, what I can say is I just say, yeah, I'm done with this change. I don't want to see it anymore. I'm good with keeping this object. I want to keep this object. So sync will basically, since we are in display, let's go to change. Okay, here I'm already locked. So let's go to the change mode here. Okay, this entry, if I click sync, so it made it no. the thing that we manually change. Save it. Save it to the TR. Come back. Select this thing. Set as checked. Okay. Oh, now it is not required. It is already done. And if I rerun this thing again it will tell me there is no need of any. It is absolutely in sync now. See, it says status checked set. So I checked this T code. Whatever I wanted to do on this T code, I completed that activity. So I don't have to see this T code again and again now. Till the time another upgrade happens, this T code is not going to become. Another upgrade happens, then again check will happen, and then they will tell me what I need to fix manually, what will be fixed automatically, and then what are the impacted roles. So then if you see here roles to be checked, it will tell us the roles, which roles are impacted, where we need to fix. And if we do 2D, it will tell us the roles which has obsolete T codes, the T codes that are now no more available and they are still part of the roles. So we have to remove them and replace them with the new T code or Fury app or whatever this action that we have to take. Yeah, okay. I'm not doing this unnecessary. It will take a lot of time and burden system. But coming back to the part here, now again we remove that. Okay, now again we remove that object. So again I have to do this SU24. Since there is SU24 change on the object, whatever roles has that T code in the role menu, we'll have to redo this thing and that object will be gone because it is now removed. Okay, now let's create a derived role for this. So I'm going to call it underscore 1000. What is happening? Okay, I'm creating a role, a derived role basically. So I will call this as a 1000 and I have a relationship here with this role as a parent role. So when you say you are creating a relationship, you can delete it later, but this is not at all recommended. Once you delete the inheritance, then these two roles will go out of sync. Then you have to do a lot of efforts to check if they are actually in sync or not. So this won't be recommended. Okay, you might see the very old project where somebody has deleted this relationship just to make sure that this role does not give a change access, but this role give, or this role has a change access, this role provide a display access. So they, instead of doing the changes in master role, they did something here directly breaking the relationship. So this is never recommended. Once you delete the this relationship, this role is on their own, this role is on their own. Right? So save it. Once we save it, the menu will automatically come because this is maintained in the master role. And for authorization, since this is first time, we will just go. We can go to change. That is fine because we are here to only maintain these values. Just cancel it. Okay. Just copy the data. What it will do, it will copy everything from master role. Okay. See, previously it was all unmaintained. Now it is all maintained. All we need to do is just touch the org values. So we are saying this role is for company code 1000. That's it. And then the plant is, let's say, 11101. This is my plant. That's it. Save and generate. So this becomes my derived role. If I have to make any T code changes, any authorization object value changes, that has to be done in the master role. If I have to make any org structure changes, then that has to be done in the derived role. And when I want to create a composite role, basically I will just grab the single roles that are there. And let's say, let me call it as ZC something for a composite role. So I want to assign this composite role to people and not individual single roles. So it can have another 5 T codes, another 5 such roles. Okay, so I'm adding a single role here. Just copy the description. And for menu, I just need to import the menu so that whatever is there in the single role will come here. See, if I generate, you will see the role number 1. If I have another role, it will come here. And in this role, I have display purchase requisition. Save it. So this role is ready for the assignment. So Let me make a note of this role. Somewhere we can actually do this assignment using GRC. We can assign this role to one of the test users that we created some time back. Okay, we created this role. We'll do this assignment to one of the users. Fine. So one last thing we want to discuss is enabler role. So enabler role is something which do not have a T code. So what you can do, it is not a necessary thing that you must have a T code. Z_ME53N underscore enable or something like that. So create a single role. Okay, this is, let's say, enabler role. So what it does, enabler role is a role which is not giving you any extra T code access, but it is giving you some extra functionality access. So what, let's say we want to do, if somebody has this role enabler, let's say what we want to do, do not take a reference and
This is generally when we don't have a parent and child concept, then they're using this enabler concept, right?
no, this is applicable anywhere. So let me take an example, scripting for an example. Okay, so instead of this, let's say Z_scripting. So scripting is not T code based. Scripting is, if I show you GUI scripting, see, this is disabled at this moment. So at server level, this is disabled. But if they activate, yeah, recording and playback is required. Okay. So what happens if this is activated and server settings are fine? It will check for S_GUI object, and that is sorry, S_SCR. Okay. So that object is not a T code relevant because the scripting is applicable for anywhere. I can record here and just search one object and playback, and it will do the same thing that I did. It is not a T code level, but it is like I want to have somebody who has this enable role. They can do the scripting. See, execute the scripts. So this is my enabler role. So what I can do, I have, let's say, a business role, or let's say I have a role, let's say supplier or purchaser. For example, I have a purchaser and I don't want this person to do any recording and playback because that is a risky thing. He can record some data and just run it 100 times, and system, he can mess up the orders that are there, right? But I have an automation bot. I have a software automation bot. You might have heard somewhere automation anywhere, or there are many automation tools that are available, RPA tools, robotics. So if same thing I need to do with a bot, a bot or an automation bot or an automation ID will do the same thing. And let's say this purchaser goes and open the 10 purchasing orders and change the delivery date to today, for example. And I don't want one person to do this on 100 items a day, and that is his full-time job. So what I can do, I can create a bot with a third party, that any RPA tools, and assign that bot a purchaser role. Okay, so this bot only has access to change the purchase order. Okay, I don't want give him full access. So now this bot, it will, and we'll just feed him this. These are the 100 purchase order. You need to change the delivery date to today's date. And on top of this access, we will give him the scripting access. This is enabler role that we just created. So this guy only has the limited T code access that he is required, and he has the scripting enabled. If this guy who is manually doing tries to do the same thing, let me record and execute the same thing for 100 script, it is not going to happen because this guy does not have access. So this is a real-time example of enabler role, and it can be anything. Like in custom cases, what happens, you hard code something that you have a certain role in your SU01. Then this T code will behave like this. Sometime back we were discussing change and display with the same roles. So that time, if you hardcore something that, okay, go to SU01 and see if this person has this role. So this T code will, let's say, hide some fields. It will not allow that person to do this functionality. So that kind of things also require an enabler role. So in that case, all they need is a role name. They don't need what you have inside. But actually speaking, the enabler role is something which don't give you the T code access, because this T code is coming from your actual authorizations, and this is giving you some extra authorization which will enable you something, which is enabling you some functionality. Like in this case, it is enabling me the scripting, or in this case, let's say I add s_GUI. Okay, with sGUI, I can download something from system. Okay, if I say export, let's say we don't allow anyone any export of system. You cannot go and just export a list. But with this, yeah, you can export. If you have this extra role, you can export. You have the same authorizations as another person, and you have this top-up role, which will allow you this functionality.
Another critical example. I think it's all depends on the project.
It all depends on project.
Yeah, because in my last project, they used enable role for only maintain the arg values. I mean, we don't have a concept of for master and child. They are using the standalone roles. In that case, they are maintaining like enabler roles, maintain and display all arg values related ones.
Correct, correct. That is a way they design the security, but and could be a reason that when you have lots of company code in the system, what happens if you are creating derived roles? Like sometime back, we take an example. This role, let's say, okay, this person is doing MA53N for 10 companies, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to have these 10 roles. When I go to derive and child role, I need to assign this 10 role to this person. Okay, whoever is this person, purchaser here, I need to assign this 10 role. Now what will happen if this 10 role has 5 roles, 5 single roles in each? So he is going to get 50 single roles assigned, correct? So other way to do it is like you must have done. You have all the T code authorizations, all the authorization values, or all the T codes are coming as a purchaser role. So you create, let's say, ZS underscore purchaser or something, and then you create ZE enabler purchaser something. Okay, so what you do, purchaser underscore 1000, let's say, or not purchaser, you just make it change 1000, let's say. So what happens, whatever T code and whatever objects, whatever T codes you want to assign, you will assign to purchaser role, and you will assign all the department. This role can be department level, this role can be anything. Like this is, let's say, a supply chain purchasing department. So you have all the purchasing authorization objects into this role with change access on company code 1000. So if this person is doing the exact same thing on 10 companies, all you need to do is now assign 10 enabler roles. So with this, what happens? You have these 10 roles, and let's say this purchaser role, which is like this, which has 5 roles. So 5 plus this 10, you have 15 roles assigned in this scenario. And in this scenario, you have 50 roles assigned. Because here it is all multiplied by 5. So 10 companies, 10 each has 5 derived roles, and then you assign 50 single roles by assigning these 10 composite roles. Here you assign one composite role which has 5 single roles, and you assign the enabler roles, change and then display, or something like that. Right? You must have something like this, correct? Okay, so this is all dependent
actually,
on.
No, a bit different, Jay. Actually, they maintain only 2 enabler roles, and maintain enabler role and display enabler role. And
Yeah, correct.
no, when you're trying to add T codes in the roles, so if you find any arg values populating for the T code, all objects we need to add in the 2 roles, maintain and display. So we need there is no other like underscore 10 underscore many enabler roles. They are maintaining only 2 maintain and display, but they are assigning these 2 roles to all users according to their
that is correct.
Position.
That is how you design. So you design.
The one you discussed the present project we are having like this, even derived roles also there, but still I could say ZD underscore some 100, 200, 300 like kind of enabler roles.
Yeah, so that that all goes what requirement is, because some system might be simple, some system might be it is used by only one business and all the roles are applicable to that business. You don't have to even deal with company codes and all, because it's only one company code in the system. But then if the business is a complex business, they have presence in multiple countries, and then internally they will sell it to themselves. Like let's take an example of a phone manufacturing company. So they have a manufacturing plant in China, and then they have sales office in each and every country. So they want to sell a phone in India, and they just want to assemble it here and say this is made in India, for example. So they will have to procure the raw material from their own company which is manufacturing in China, and then set up a company in India which will be a different number, and then they just assemble here, and then they sell it here. So likewise, it depends on how the business is, and how it is configured. Or they might just move the business out of one system. I don't want any other business. This system is dedicated to my phone business. And then if I have another business, pharmaceuticals, it is a new system. If it is everything is in one system, then they will have to say, yeah, all my companies starting with one are for my phone business, companies starting with two are my pharmaceutical, companies starting with 3000, 3001, 3002, all those are. And that is how they will decide security. But yeah, basically the best practices, if you talk about best practices, master and derive role is a best practices. Enabler roles are recommended for enabling the additional functionality. So you can take this route, but rather this is a better approach, less maintenance. Because here in enabler role, you will have all these objects in this status, manual status. If you see, because this is manually added. This is not, if I click on mountain, this is not coming from anywhere. This is manually added, or this value. So SAP recommends this value should not be manual and should not be changed. Change is like SAP suggests you do the 03 as activity. I come here and make it 02. So that will say it is changed. Then there is another status which is standard. Standard in the sense, if this value is tagged to the T code and full object is coming as it is, I don't have to do any maintenance, then it will be a standard status. And another one is maintained. Like sometime back we just maintained the role. F4 was coming and another field was blank, and we maintain star over there. So that went into maintain. So maintain and standard is recommended. Manual is recommended only in IT roles, where you cannot put all the T codes in the role menu, right? Because IT team will deal with a lot of T code. So that time some manual objects are okay, or you are doing some firefighter role build or something wider access, or you are doing RFC or system users. But for end users, strictly the recommendation is to stick to the standard and maintain status. Okay, and again, it is a recommendation, but based on the security design approach, many things are possible. How you design like enabler role, you use the master derive, use the composite role, you use the all single roles, use the business roles, you don't use the business role. So SAP has provided us a lot of options, and it's how the security consultants design the security, what is best suitable for their particular project and their use cases. Okay, anything else you want to discuss on role?
And can you show us how we are going to add the reports in the role? And there is a workflow tab and personalization tab in the PFCG, right? Where we can use that one.
I will have to check on that, because to be frank, I never use that functionality. If your report, but yeah, I can show it to you here. See, we just saw the example of transaction. If I go here, you can see there is a report. So maybe in BW system, you want to add the reports here directly. So you can go and put a report as well. So see here, SAP query or a BW report, you have the options, or a transaction with variant. So if there is a T code and if there is a variant, you want to open that particular variant directly. Like when I go into SU01, I want directly to see myself, for an example. Or when I go into the job scheduling, I just want to see the jobs that are set up by myself. So you can create a variant for your T code, and then that can also be added here. Okay. Or BW reports. If you have any like traditional BW system where the reports are created directly in BW. Nowadays, everything is created in HANA. So I don't think this will be that much useful. But if you have the reports that are directly run in application layer, you can put them here. If you are creating an SAP query, so sometime back we were checking that we were discuss about that user group example. SQ03 when we were talking of if the same access people can see different things. So we were here right sometime back. So which query group it is assigned to you. So likewise, you can add the things here. This is on reports, but more importantly, when we come back here on the Fiori side, you can add the services, multiple type of services available here. So that time only we will see these services, gateway enablement, IWSG services and IWSV. So this is IWSV, the backend services, and you can see the groups metadata IWSG. So we'll talk on this when we are on Fiori side, as well as here you will see in BW we have a lot of options. If this is a BW system, you can use URL and a lot of things. And for Fiori, you have 3 options. You can add a catalog. So catalog is common in group and page and space concept. So catalog is a must. You can create a catalog and add it here. You can add a group or you can add a space. You can add both as well. But the way you design, basically, you can add these 3 things. So we will check this in Fiori when we are done with GRC. That time we will will create a catalog, we'll create a group, we'll create a space, and we'll see how it looks. And on the personalization side, to be frank, I have never used this. So are you looking for any specific information here?
No, Jay, we didn't use that. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
What is the use of that?
Yeah, to be frank, we can just Google and that is what, because I also in like 12 years of experience, I never used this functionality. So I don't know, maybe why it is there. But yeah, you can Google around and that's it. Let me see. Yeah, every time I just Google this, but it is difficult to relate to a actual use case scenario. How this thing is, because we never see this is used actually.
You can leave it, Jay. We'll Google it.
Yeah. Create a queries and all those things, I think, based on user group or something. Anyways, to be frank, I don't see this thing used anywhere. So all we will deal with is even applications. I haven't seen any such applications or anything. So mainly we will work on menus, and in menus, Fiori and BW and this authorization default for adding services, and then the authorization parts and the user assignment. So whenever we do the assignment, it will come here, user assignment. You can either compare from here or you can have the job set up in the system, which will do the PFUD comparison for user master, and the profiles are assigned to users. So if a role is assigned to user, it does not give him access. You have to make sure the related profile, it is assigned to user. This profile is important. This profile is important. System. So if this profile is assigned to a user, then whatever is in this role, it gets into the user buffer and he can access the functionalities. Okay, I think that's it. I wanted to cover on the roles and SU25 upgrade side as well. So I hope this was a informative session for everyone who is still doing the SU01 and PFCG, but something more to know out of this session, and not just the exact same thing that we do since ages. Okay, so anything else, or we are good to conclude today's session?
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.